to take up the issue again. I know I did this last year, but I think it's important to review every year. Yeah. The issue of drinking on Purim, which is a very hot button issue. So let's just get the left wing stuff out of the way. So today, that political correct. I don't even know if it's politically correct, but it's seeped into Judaism today that there's in modern Orthodox Judaism that there's a big disdain that they have for people who drink on Purim. You'll see when you go back to America. It's like, oh yeah. But I want to. The contrast is the other end of the spectrum, which is that too often you see, especially in Israel, you go to Meir Sharm on Purim, it's like a balagan. I mean, there's the drunkenness hits a state where you'll see. I think that's what the Meir is referring to when he says holus, but it's like, like they're nuts. You know what I mean? There's a certain point where. And that gives it a bad name. There's a certain point where it's like it's clear they're just getting drunk because they want to be drunk. It has nothing to do with Purim itself. So the question is, how do we thread the line to keep this as a halakhic phenomenon, and ignore both extremes? One extreme being they don't drink at all. The other extreme being that they act like a bunch of behemoths. Okay. All right. So the struggle with this area is that you can't escape what the Gemara says. You can't. The Gemara says chayev Livsume, right? On Zainam Beis Megillah, it says I'm not going to sit there and argue with them, but it says Mechayev Inish Livsume Beporia Adelo Yada Ben Arahaman Levarach Mordechai. So as you mentioned in Nachana, the question you have to ask is, what's this vague notion of Adelo Yada? It's a very strange idea, right? I mean, you have to halachify it. I don't care about the philosophy of the guy doesn't know the difference. That's a question of state of drunkenness. But how do you halachify Adelo Yada? What's the halachic expression of such a thing? You'll see it's very nifty how the Rishonim, there's two paths to go down. Okay. The other question also is which I know you guys prepared, is that you have this notion that drinking is normally not looked upon as a good thing, right? We don't want people to get drunk. You can't daven when you're in a state of shechus, right? So how do you resolve the bad part of getting drunk with somehow it being the mitzvah on Purim? And then obviously the other thing is the story, right? And I don't want to get into the. I don't care about the fact he came back to life. That's a Gadata aspect. I just care about halachically speaking. What's the function of this story? In this story, as we know, two guys got together, very, very big Talmid Chachamim. Doesn't matter who's a bigger Talmid Chacham. Both Talmid Chachamim. And what happens? So they both get drunk, and then one kills the other. Okay? So what's the point of bringing in that Gemara? Right? And then you'll see the Rishonim struggle with it. It's not so simple what the purpose of that Gemara is. Some of them choose to just ignore it. Right? Okay. All right, so let's start with the Rambam. All right, source 1. Pensky, you read. Yes. Right,
what is the obligation of Suda? To eat basar and
make yourself a nice Suda.
Yeah, make yourself a nice Suda. Well, whatever you have.
Based on your means.
Yeah, based
on
your means. Which is the ayin ad sheistaker, the yardim shichus.
So okay.
You gotta drink wine until you're drunk.
Which, of course, naturally you guys all missed. What's strange about the Rambam?
What shear is that?
How
much?
Oh, that's good. Okay, that's good. That's good.
Does he pass out, or does he mean?
I don't care. But that doesn't bother me so much. No. What's more important? I mean, there's something. What's weird about this Rambam? What's weird about it? There's something strange in the Rambam.
Why does he put those two
together?
Why
is Yain listening to Suda?
Well, let me read the Gemara again. The Gemara says, Chayiv Adam, Chayiv Inish L'Vsumi B'Poria.
Where you get the idea of falling asleep?
Oh, okay. Okay, in other words, 1 second. What does the Gemara say?
Get drunk until you don't
Adelo Yada. What's the Rambam say?
That's you.
So here's going to be a first svara. So what must the Rambam hold?
That is
Meaning what?
The same thing. It's not.
That means you don't have conscious.
No. So, fine. So therefore, halachically, what is it then?
A shear.
A shear. Okay. The Rambam's the easiest position. The Rambam holds Adelo Yada. Right. What's the Rambam bothered by? He's saying you can't quantify Adelo Yada. What's the litmus test going to be? I mean, literally, I stand in front of a guy and say, "Hey, Mordechai versus Haman." I mean, that's absurd. That's crazy. What? I know, but the Rambam doesn't buy that. So what does the Rambam do? He says, Adelo Yada, it just means what? It's a shear. And what's the shear? When are your Mekayim, your what do you call it? What's the shear in Shechus? Sleeping. Because that's a shear in drinking. It's a halachic shear. Right. Adelo Yada is a halachic shear.
Why do you pick that over anything else? Because...
Okay. So why would he pick Tardema over everything else? Sleeping over everything else?
Come on, you don't see how this all evolves.
In my opinion, the Rambam holds that when you fall asleep, that there's falling asleep is the shear of Adelo Yada. But why did he choose falling asleep?
Actually falling asleep or going to sleep?
that the state of not passing out, but that the state of drinking leads you to go to sleep.
Conducive.
Right. And there's now in other words, I mean, again, I can only speak from experience. I drink every year, and at a certain point, I'm like, that's it. I'm done. I need to like go. When I say pass out, I don't mean like you drank so much that you passed out. I mean that like you just at a certain point you're just tired because you drank so much, and then you go to sleep. Because right. So if it's, I'll prove it to you why this has to be the case. Because if it really adol yada is a shear, right? So the thing is, how do you know that you've hit the state of shechrus? How do you know? See, the Rambam's saying it's not that I'm walking around loopy. That's not the state of
Let's say you
shechrus.
get tired, you don't fall asleep.
I'm just saying, according to the Rambam, the technical.
No, then you know.
It would seem like the technical performance, according to the Rambam, is that I've drank enough that now I'm falling asleep, which means that's the sheer of adol yada. You're not defined as a shikr until you fall asleep. That is the shikhrus. That's the sheer shikhrus required on Purim, to drink to fall asleep. According to the Rambam, this is what I'm saying. That's what the Rambam holds. That's why the Rambam doesn't have adol yada, because, like you said, they're synonymous. You understand?
Yeah.
Nice, easy, concise position, right? Okay.
But what if you can't fall asleep?
According to the Rambam, again, there's no point in time. The moment you start drinking, okay, until you fall asleep, there is no idea of being drunk. You may be drunk physically, but you're not defined as shosa yain sheishtaker. The yishtaker, when do you define as the yishtaker? Which now will emerge in adol yada when you fall asleep. So the drinking is simply a vehicle to get to that state.
Conceptually, why do you not?
No, because again, let's break it down to its components. The chiyuv is to drink. Okay, that's the chiyuv.
The shear.
Right. The shear of drinking is adol yada, but you have to drink. You know what I mean? That's the chiyuv is to drink. Now, what shear? Not a revius, right? Not a revius. So see, that's what the Rambam is struggling with. The Gemara should have said revius, chatzi lug, whatever. Make up a number. But there's no numbers. Adol yada. So what does he have to say? He says, what's adol yada? Now, is that crazy? Because what does adol yada mean? I mean, this is getting a little speculative. But I'm saying, if you're sleeping, you don't know the difference between Mordechai and you don't know anything. You know what I mean? It's like you're lost. You're not part of the world anymore. So you could argue that's what he's kind of hinting at. But that's why those who argue with him, right? And you'll see. I think the Meiri he's trying to. I know what you'll see what the Meiri is trying to do. Those who argue with him obviously have a different idea. They don't like that because what right do you have to say? The Gemara says adol yada, right? Okay, but I'm just saying this is what the Rambam holds. I mean, you can't get out of that. The fact he doesn't put in adol yada and he introduces the idea of sleeping, he must be saying this. There's just no other way to learn it. Right. Yeah, that's gonna be easy. Why does it have to be wine?
That's what they drink.
Wine's a...
No, that's okay. Let's put aside the Avodah Zarah. Just simply halachic.
Wine's a halachic drink.
Right. In other words, when Rabbana come along and want to have a chiyuv of drinking, so they're going to always use the precedent.
I know, but there's no other.
You're making a mistake. There's no chiyuv. You're looking at it the wrong way. It's not the mitzvah isn't to get drunk. That's not the mitzvah. The mitzvah is to drink, right?
No, that's wrong. I'm saying, according to everybody else, the state of drunkenness is really the mitzvah.
Oh, so we'll get to everyone else. Hold on. But you have to agree with one thing. You can't. What are Chazal going to do? Are they going to say you can use anything to drink, or are they going to say, well, we're going to use that which is, according to halacha, the normative vehicle for simcha, and use that as the objective standard for drinking? Let's think about it. The Gemara says openly, "Ein simcha ela b'basar v'yayin." Yayin is the vehicle for simcha. So they're just going to stick with that halachic precedent. Why would they create something? Why would they say we're going to exit that precedent? Right. You know what I mean? There's no reason to. That's easy. That doesn't bother me at all. That's why yayin makes sense. Yeah, but that doesn't bother the Rambam. Right? That bothers the other Achronim, or the Rishonim too. Right? It doesn't bother the Rambam because Rambam holds that all he cares about is one thing: that there's a chiyuv to drink. But the nature of the drinking on this day, the sheer of this drinking, is not a normative revius or log or anything like that. It's adol yada, which is sleeping. Okay, I mean that's definitely what a sheet is. Okay. Now, what's that, guys? So what? Now, what does Iran do? So Iran quotes of the famous Rabbeinu Ephraim, who says, "Okay, well, let's take a step back. So, what does the Rambam do with the story? Clearly, there's no story as far as he's concerned. Right. The story. What would the story be telling you?
You should be careful.
Right. That's it. It's just there to tell you just to.
A moralistic lesson.
What?
A moralistic lesson.
It's saying like drink, but just be aware this could happen.
Yeah.
All right. So just that makes a lot of sense why the Ram would have sleeping as the barometer, because you probably what should happen is that you get drink enough to fall asleep, but don't go overboard. Right. Exactly. These guys drank so much that ended up one killed the other. You know what I mean? They didn't allow themselves to go to sleep, for lack of a better what? They can rely on that, right? But what does the Ran say? When the Ran quotes Rabbeinu Ephraim, right? He says no. He says that it would seem that what? What does he hold? What does Rabbeinu Ephraim hold?
Story luck.
Me'ahu uvda the kam rabba shachti le Rav Zera k'narina me'gemara itchile memra the Rava v'lo shapir dami l'ma'avid hachi. So you got to be careful. He says v'lo shapir dami. What does that mean?
It's not good.
It's not the ideal. So therefore, I'm not going to explain that side yet. But what's he indicating though? He's indicating the story's function is what? Right. So the story is modifying the chiyuv. Right. Just you understand categorically. According to the Rambam, the story is there for advice. Take it or leave it. According to the Ran and others, the story is coming to do what? To modify the chiyuv. In other words, you think the chiyuv is X. It turns out yes, but there's a modification in the chiyuv itself. And this is going to be the point where the Rishonim Achronim starts.
Orders his chiyuv.
Right.
Who, according to the Ran? Do you have to drink? You have to. You mean the shear? We don't know.
Yeah.
We're not to that yet. Hold on. We don't know. You have to. In this kind of shear, in this kind of this thing, you got to put together different pieces of the puzzle, and you'll see how it all comes together. The Meiri is going to be the key. You'll see. What does the Torah hold? The Torah says.
So you can never say that from the story.
Now the Torah has the shear, right? Sarach lishtaker. Adul Yodam in Araham and Lavorach Mordechai. Fine. Now, Hagos Maimonios adds what?
What do you mean it's a shear?
Oh, I'm sorry, I shouldn't say that. Excuse me. He just says, he quotes the Gemara. Okay? You'll see why I brought him in a second. The Hagos Maimonios, what does he add? He adds, so he says, now this is important. Now, you got to see the direction we're going in here. Okay, you'll see. What does Hagos Maimonios add? If you guys paid attention, what does he add? The last part, when he quotes the Rav Yah.
Yeah.
What's the Rav Yah saying?
I give if you don't.
It says mitzvah dama'ake, meaning what?
A kiyum.
Ooh, okay. So now, what's the other direction of Adul Yada?
Right.
It's additional to this.
Right, meaning it's a kiyum.
Yeah.
That's
It's a kiyum.
what you're supposed to get to.
But it's a kiyum. There's a big difference. The Rambam holds it's the objective shear. According to all the other Rishonim, they're going to learn that it is a kiyum that you chayav to drink, but there's a kiyum to hit Adul Yada. There's a kiyum, right? Meaning that you have to, you should drink. You should have something to drink, right? But there's a.
That's the point where you stop.
Right. When you're Adul Yada, right? You've now fulfilled the mitzvah in its most ideal form. Okay. But if you didn't do Adul Yada, you're still yotze your mitzvah because you drank. You understand?
But they still haven't defined what Adul Yada means.
They don't have to. No. So
whatever that means for the individual.
Right.
But what does that mean?
So that's why the Rambam will never go down this road. But
right, the Rambam's.
But that's not what bothers them.
The same thing.
I agree. But notice what bothers them. That's not what bothers them. What bothers all the shittas who go down the road of kiyum? What? Right. You see, you have to be sensitive now. They're not bothered by the shear. See, I'm going to answer your question with you're saying the right thing, but I'll show you how you're saying the right thing. In other words, they're not saying they agree. There's no shear of Adul Yada, right? It's a kiyum. But how do you explain what the kiyum is? You can't say what it is, but you can certainly say what it's not.
Okay.
That's what they're targeting. In other words, when they say like you have to be motivated by the right reasons and hodah, blah 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 blah, all that's telling you is one thing. As long as it's that's how you can fill that kiyum. But once you lack that, you know one thing for sure: you're not going to be mekayim the mitzvah. You had the mitzvah, but there's no kiyum that can emerge. Right. Because if your motivation in drinking is one that is rooted in let's say something other than hodah to Kadosh Baruch Hu, then the kiyum of Adul, even though you have Adul Yada, right? There's no kiyum in the mitzvah there. You understand? That's going to be a critical. You'll see. That's going to be a critical point of how to define this. So look at the Meiri. What does the Meiri say? He says, so what kind of day is he painting for you?
Like a
Hey,
perfect.
Mary.
No.
No, like a perfect happy day,
Yeah.
festive day, right? Right? That's interesting. And when we're not commanded in any way to get drunk, okay, and to therefore remove ourselves from the simcha, so what is he talking about? That's the key point. So what's he saying? So what I was alluding to before, what's he saying?
That you shouldn't get drunk until the point where you aren't able to engage with the holiday.
Nope. No. We got to start from the beginning. No, I'm saying from the beginning of drinking. When a guy sits down to drink, so this is what they're saying conceptually. It's just a very difficult concept to apply practically. But when you're kovea your suda and you sit down and start drinking, what the Meiri is going to ask is, what is in your mind the moment you start sipping that wine? Okay? If what's guiding you is really, as he puts it, it's simcha shel tainug, that means that in this pleasure, I'm now having a greater appreciation of the nace and all the greatness that God did for us. That's good. And then when you hit adol yada, that's the right kiyam. But if all along, right, your motivation for it is not rooted in that, but rather it's shtus, I want to have a party, whatever that motivation is, there's no way you can mekayim. In fact, the shikhrus is a problem. It becomes problematic. You understand? Or in other words, I'll put it another way. In other words, and this is what we're saying before, what I was alluding to before. When it comes to drinking, it's not that drinking objectively is evil. If that were the case, how is it, at this point, how is it possible you have a chiyuv to get drunk on Purim? Just like anger is what?
Or drink ever.
Or drink ever, right? So he's saying no. He's saying that even something like drinking, right, even shikr, which is something that if you think about it, puts you in a state where you can't do, can't do mitzvos. But since ultimately it's being motivated by a mitzvah itself, then therefore it's okay to do.
So
you understand?
Like oneg or something like that.
Correct. That's coincidentally says mitzvah shel tainug.
Yeah.
Simcha shel tainug. You need a certain kavanah for this. When you sit down to have your, that's why Ezra brought a good point up before. That's why it's always important before you start the Suda to review these ideas, to understand why you're starting to have your Suda. What's going on?
You didn't have the right idea that you're not Yotze at all?
It's hard to imagine. Let's just put it this way: you definitely have to have some wine. But if you're looking to get drunk and your motivation to getting drunk is not attached to this reality, it's simcha shel shtus.
Yeah.
That's clear.
So what is that then? Nothing?
It's bad. It's you're putting yourself. It's the wrong kind of shikr. It's the wrong kind of shikr.
You have the mitzvah though.
You're technically yes. Technically, you've drank wine, but you've done something in a sense. Sometimes you can do a mitzvah, and by doing it in the wrong way, it could damage you.
Right.
You know what I mean? It's a similar thing here.
But logically you have the mitzvah.
Luckily, you have the
So
mitzvah.
he's discussing what? A kiyum?
He's discussing the kiyum.
Okay.
Yeah, he's saying you can't get the kiyum if your motivation is one that's attached to shtus. It's impossible.
And what is the shir?
He doesn't care what the shear is. He just cares about one thing. In other words, he's not worried about what that point is. He just worried about one thing: what's driving you to it. Then it's irrelevant what the shear is.
But he's saying that
Okay.
once you have like the proper intention, then you know what it is that you're going towards, you'll have a much better chance of
100
doing it with the correct.
100%. Exactly. Okay? Let's keep going. Now you have the other end of the spectrum, the famous Orchos Chaim, who says Chayev inish l'vsumei b'poria. So he says it's crazy. Lo shishtaker. That's impossible. He's the only one who learns this way. It can't be, when the Gemara says Chayev l'vsumei, it can't mean to get drunk. It can't. It cannot. Because Shas Shichros Isser Gamor. Ve'enachal Avera Gdola Mizu, Shugarim the Gilir Rayos, etc., etc., etc. Okay? But then you have a big problem according to Orchos Chaim. So what's the Gemara telling you? What's Chayev l'vsumei? Right? It says Sheyishte Yoser Milimudo Ma'at. Okay? So you have to understand, now I'm going to define for you, I don't think most people like to define Orchos Chaim, but I'm going to show you a piece of what he's saying, okay? And it's brilliant. I don't agree with it at all, but it's brilliant. What's the Orchos Chaim svara? What's his svara? Forget the ethical issue of getting drunk. How does he read the Gemara? It's brilliant what he's doing.
He's saying that you're supposed to leave your normal state of acting, like your normal daily routine, which I guess would he be
Too descriptive. When we did the Rambam, how did the Rambam define the Gemara? The Rambam reads the Gemara. What does he read? Chayev inish l'vsumei b'poria adol yada. So break down for me. Let's break that Gemara up into two components. There's Chayev adol l'vsumei, and then there's adol yada. How does the Rambam describe? So what the Chayev is what though?
The Chayev is to drink.
The Chayev is what? The Chayev is to what?
Is to get abliyada.
The Chayev is to what? Lishtaker. And what's the shear of shikar? How does Orchos Chaim read the Gemara?
Chayev is to drink.
The Chayev is to drink.
What does he do with Adliyoda?
Oh, so he's going to have to say it's one statement. Okay. Now, how does he learn Adol Yada? Oh, it's just what he's learning the Gemara. Adol Yada is going to be a big kash against him. But what's he saying? He's saying that when the Gemara comes along and says Chayev inish l'vsumei, that's the chiddush, meaning that normally there's no chayev to drink, right? In other words, you drink a normal amount. This is what's l'sume, to drink more than you normally would. That's his shear. His shear is not going on adol yada. It's going on l'sume. L'sume is to have more than you normally would. That's his shear. That's a great question. I have no idea. No idea.
So the differentiation between
So moving on to the Mechaber. So the Mechaber says what? He says that you're chayiv to get drunk on Purim, right? Adol yada or bein ara haman baruch Mordechai. Interesting, the Mechaber, and that's why I brought the Torah in also. The Mechaber and the Torah don't mention the Rambam, right? They don't have the Rambam's position, which is strange. No, they don't mention Lirdom. It's really solely the Rambam. It's only the Rambam's position. No one else holds that way. That sleeping is. Then the Ramah comes in and says v'yesh omrim. Dein sarach lishtaker kolkach elosh yishte yoser milimudo v'yashe. Now, what's the problem with the Ramah? The Ramah is very strange. What's the Ramah trying to do?
He's trying to
Kind of limit.
he's trying to get like a hefter for people who don't want to drink.
But okay, more in terms of the shitas, what is he trying to do? Whose shita is he?
Oh, he's trying to compromise.
Well, who's the cult? Right, he's trying to form.
Time though, really.
No, he's not, because he's saying you don't have to get that drunk, and you should drink more than normal. V'yashen.
sleep.
So he's trying to get the Rambam and the Orchos Chaim.
Right, it's a challenge.
I think
It's some variation of some idea in the Rambam and then the Orchos Chaim. Like he's trying to get the best of all worlds. I'm not disagreeing with you. I'm just saying it's like a funny type of thing, you know? Fine.
But I mean, he's able to compromise between.
Now moving on to the Taz. So what does the Taz say? The Taz says, Rabban wrote the Taz is a very interesting. Taz adds another element to it, but very similar to the Miri. He says that a person, again, he's there. Tzarech Adam lasei shevach lo yizbarach al tova kfula. So why is he going into this whole long? You guys read it already. Why is the Taz going into this whole long thing? What's he trying to do? What's he struggling with?
He's struggling with the story.
He says, no, he's saying that what do you do on Purim? You have to give. The Taz says that what is the whole point of getting drunk? He says, I'll tell you the point is because there was double good done for you on Purim. Two goods, right? One is the removal of Haman. The other one is the bracha of Mordechai. That's what he's basically saying. Okay.
What's the weird shot?
What? More than that, he's bothered by again. You're telling me you're chayv to get drunk. How can it be? So he's saying, oh, it must be because it's all about Shabbat HaKadosh Baruch Hu. So they're trying to take the idea of drinking and putting in the context of Shabbat HaKadosh Baruch Hu.
Well, of course. Why is he so bothered by it? Why?
Look at the Aruch HaShulchan. Isa de Mechayev inish lefsumi beporia adol yada ben araham of the Baruch Mordechai.
Seemingly using for
V'adavar matmiya. So the Aruch HaShulchan says this is crazy. Dimkein tzarach lios shikar karav l'shikuro shalot. So that's what he's at. So again, you guys keep asking what the shear of not knowing Baruch Mordechai or Haman. Well, he's saying one thing for sure. Whatever that shear is, he's saying
Not so much that you sleep with your daughters.
right. But that's what you would think. It's a crazy shear,
You'd say so.
right? Because how could that be? Because you see, we want us to be as drunk as Lot. The Rambam lo kasa b'lashon zeh. The Rambam didn't include that. The kasa d'shosa yain ashi yishtaker yirדם b'shichruso, right? V'ulai hayam mefarish adol yada b'nation nirdam. So again, they always like that pshat because what does a hadol yada mean? It means that if I'm sleeping, I won't know the difference between the two. But whatever. Point being though is that is the shear according to the Rambam. Okay, so he says, fine. Now look at Sif Gimel. And Sif Gimel he says, "Ach ina muvan lafizeh lama haya lashas lomer b'lashon mishuna adalo." This was bothering. So he's not satisfied with the Rambam's answer. He wants to understand why the Gemara use adalo yada, right? Lema chayav livsumi ach yirdam. Lachin yosinira the ain't come on us a Rambam the Farsh Gemara can el shedacha maimer zem halacha. Shulchan is learning that the Rambam keeps it. I think the Rambam keeps it vague for a reason. But the Aruch HaShulchan wants to say that how much do you have to drink before you end up getting tired and go to sleep? A lot less than Adol Yada.
Yeah.
Right.
So in his version, he's saying that the Rambam didn't tell you to drink so much. That the Rambam didn't tell you that shear of Adol Yada is sleeping. Rather, that the Rambam doesn't include Adol Yada because you should never hit that point. Meaning, what is the Gemara? What's the purpose of the story in the Gemara? Don't hit that point. It's telling you don't hit that point. You understand? So you drink a little bit and you fall asleep. That would be that. So very Archos Chaim ish, right? But what is the shear of? What is the idea of Adol Yada? He says, "V'yesha kasu shaya etzam." What do you call it? He says that those who had a zemer they used to sing. That is, there was a song they used to sing, right? And they would end with Aruch Haman Baruch Mordechai. V'haya zemer Aruch, right? And there was a long song, Ukeshehu Mavusam Ma'at, and when you're a little tipsy, right? Lo yuchal amra kulo. So what was the shir of Adol Yada? It's that there's like this long song, like this, come on, what's the term? You know when like, the guys get together and they...
Song?
What? Yep.
Drinking
No, come on, there's a better word for that. What's the word for drinking song? There's a word for it.
Is there?
Irish?
Yeah, like but no. So it's a great shot. So what's the mixing up of our Haman Baruch Mordechai? Because you sing like
It
this.
is, it is.
Yovad Ram was the last source. He says, why do you get drunk? Right? And he says you got to be careful. He says, you see that drinking and getting drunk can be a big obstacle. So all the nisim that were done in Purim were done through drinking. Okay? And he proceeds to list all the nisim. So what's he saying? What's his idea?
Drinking is good.
What? Drinking is good. What's the idea? What's the halachic idea? It's a wild idea.
Easy
I
way
think.
to manipulate people.
What is the purpose of drinking on Purim according to the Avad Ram? I think the Avad Ram holds that drinking, according to him, is a vehicle of pursuing Nisa.
Like all the other mitzvahs on Purim?
Like all the other mitzvahs on Purim. Right? So when a person, according to Avad Ram, when a person drinks and he thinks about the Mishnah, I don't know how this would work practically, but you think about, like Achashverosh had the wine, blah, 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 that you're going back to the story. And whenever it comes to the story, that's always pursuing Nisa. So Avad Ram's Shita is that drinking is a vehicle for pursuing Nisa. Just like Megillah.
Meiri also kind of said that.
He's not quite as vivid as the Avad Ram. So that's what I want to posit about the Avad Ram. It's really a vehicle for pursuing Nisa. Avad Ram's brilliance is that he doesn't want it to be a separate mitzvah simcha in Purim. He wants to say that it's built into pursuing Nisa. So how's he going to do that? Why do Chazal choose to drink wine? So he's going to say it's not because it's some separate thing of simcha. He wants to say it's tied intrinsically into pursuing Nisa itself.